It's awareness and perspective. I grew up in a poor house with an uneducated stepfather. He was very harsh and I was working mostly. For me, one of the reasons I love school is because I wasn't working. Couldn't realize it, but I had a lot of bullying from the kids. After, when I grew up, I realized how was the life. But for me, it was normal, how they were treating me. I didn't have any hobbies. I was working. So my hobby was the school, the knowledge. But the problem is you go to school and you have the bullies.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have one bully at home and you have bullies at the school.
Yeah.
I just took 2 bean bags, put all my clothes in, and just left the home. And if people were a bit more aware how they are, I think the world would be completely different. All my life was on the move, walking, doing, working, and I could just sit and have the comfort of the AC. It was unimaginable for me.
Oh, wow.
I don't like job to determine who you are as a person. A wedding video, it's a freedom. Your result of work is gonna impact emotionally someone else.
Welcome to another episode of Present Potential. I'm your host, Hassan. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in and listened to the conversations with inspiring and amazing people that I got to listen to their wisdom that they generously shared with us. Today is a kind of a different episode. As you can see, it is a face-to-face, and actually it is the first face-to-face podcast interview that we have on Present Potential. And it's been so exciting to reach this journey because we want to make something that is exceptionally of great quality. So we went all out. And this is my home studio. Actually, this is my dining table, but I've changed it as well with the help of my guest today. So I'm going to start by introducing the guest today. Alex is someone who I've come across in my professional role and also got to know him on a personal level. And his story and wisdom have really inspired me. And when I told him about Present Potential, he was really excited to come on as a guest. I'm not going to share more about Alex because we're going to listen to his story, and I hope that you'll find it as engaging as I have. So, Alex, welcome to Present Potential.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And usually when we start, we get to know our guests. So if we start with, who is Alex? Who do you see yourself as? How do you describe what you do?
That's a big question, man. I'm really, usually what people do is hey, I'm Alex, I'm 38 years old, and I'm a filmmaker. But I don't like job to determine who you are as a person because we are like onions. There's a lot of layers of us to who we are in general. So ask me something more specific, because it's so many layers. So
Great. So let's start peeling the onion.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. So we both live in Cyprus. Have you always lived in Cyprus? Tell me about that.
Originally, I'm from Bulgaria, but I lived all my life here in Cyprus. I came when I was 4 years old. Actually, when the USSR in Bulgaria dropped 1991, we came here with my mom to Cyprus.
Oh, wow.
I still remember that day.
I was just going to ask, tell us about that experience, if you remember anything from that day.
You know what? I remember a lot of things before when I was in Bulgaria. So imagine 2, 3 years old, I have strong, vivid memories. And I remember specifically the day when we came because my father used to be a captain.
Mhm.
And actually all my family, they were captains and sailors. And we came with not cruise ship, but the container ship. Yeah. And it's not like a nice environment to be, in the ship because it's like working ship. Yeah. So I remember all the time going downstairs to the chef eating fried potatoes. Yeah, it's very vividly that one in my head. And also I remember when we were passing, where is Turkey and this big bridge connects Turkey there.
Yeah.
And we went upstairs to the captain's control room.
Mhm.
And he gave me the binoculars and I was watching the bridge and it was very strong memory for me. And when we arrived also to Limassol, to the port of Limassol,
Oh wow.
it's like 4 years old, but so strong, vividly
Yeah.
memories. Yeah.
I was just gonna say because my eldest daughter is 5.5, and
Mm.
she remembers things, but I'm wondering if she remembers when she was 4 or 3, because my own recollection is, I don't know, I was around like 4 or 5 when I started remembering. So, but for you, you said like you can remember the fried potatoes and also
Yeah.
those binoculars, and
Yeah.
what was it like? I mean, that experience of seeing a different place that you're going to with your family and the binoculars and just going forward to a different destination that's completely new.
Yeah, as a kid, you see things and everything looks huge.
Mm,
Yeah, because you're a tiny little human, and everything looks so wow. And memories from a childhood is like strong memories are memories which they make you wow, like having this feeling of wow. And also scared memories or shy memories, embarrassed memories.
mm,
And this was like a nice memory, I remember now. And for example, another memory I have is like the aquarium we had with the dolphins. So it's like a
mm,
huge wall, glass wall, and I could see the dolphins. It was like really strong memory. And when I went back to Bulgaria for the first time when I was 16 years old, and I was speaking with my aunt, and I said, "Oh yeah, here and this and that and that," and she was so shocked. Like I could remember those things.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So Cyprus when you were 4, and
Hmm.
then you went back to Bulgaria for the first time when you were 16.
Yes.
And how were the first few years in Cyprus, adjusting to the new country, to the new environment, to
Mm.
the people, the language? Like, how was that as well? Like, and probably went to a different school. So, what do you remember from that? What were some things that really stood out for you?
Okay, to be honest, like the time in Cyprus wasn't good.
Mm,
It was a difficult time. It even started from the very beginning because of the language barrier. Yeah.
mm,
So I remember very vividly going to the kindergarten and not knowing a single word of Greek.
mm,
So I was sitting on a table, like quiet by myself, and I couldn't do anything. And this little kid comes and brings me a little cow, and we start playing with that cow, and I felt relieved. So again, these memories which you strongly remember are the
yeah.
memories which are impact you. Uh, that that was also the reason I forgot I don't speak anymore Bulgarian
Ah, wow.
because I was forcing my mom, as she was also learning Greek,
Yeah.
to teach me Greek. So at the end of the day, I forgot my mother language.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, because also I grew up in a house where my stepfather was a Cypriot,
Mm.
so it was the Greek language. Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine like just learning a new language. I'm trying to learn myself, but
yeah.
it's not easy. And so what was the reason that you decided to come to Cyprus? And especially like it's a different language and
Mhm.
the adjustment period might be a bit challenging. So how come you decided to come to Cyprus with your family?
My mom's sister, she was living here married with a Cypriot,
Mm,
so that was like one of the destinations we could go. And because of USSR, difficult times in Bulgaria and in Romania as well, and a lot of people just left the country
mm,
and they went somewhere else for a better future.
yeah. Wow. And then you shared that also in kindergarten, you felt that you were not seen or out of place. And you
Yeah,
remember that vividly, that the cow,
yeah.
when that little boy came to you. And how was your experience as well, like growing up in the Cypriot environment and the people? Like, how was it adjusting after maybe starting to learn the language as well?
Before you go to the primary school, you learn some phrases and words from the kindergarten.
Mhm.
So I remember going to the primary school and the kids were reading the little phrases, on the wall, but I couldn't. So I was just opening my mouth and pretending that I was saying something. And that was a motivation for me to learn, to learn the language, and not only that, to achieve something.
Yeah.
And in the school, it was difficult because back in the days, I was the only foreign kid in the school,
Mm,
and I couldn't realize it, but I had a lot of bullying from the kids. After, when I grew up, I realized
mm,
how was the life. But for me, it was normal, how they were treating me. And if you don't have someone to speak to it, and you don't know what is this thing which is called bullying,
Yeah.
and you don't really get the concept of it, because as a kid, from the eyes of a kid, this is very different.
Yeah. Oh wow, thanks for sharing that. And so when you grew up and you started realizing that there might have been or there was actual bullying
Mm.
that was taking place, what was it that made you realize that this actually happened? What, how did you know that it was actual bullying?
It was the fear of going to the school.
Mm,
Yeah, it was the fear of going to the lunch break. It was the fear of, because other people treat you differently. So you're trying to seclude yourself, being somewhere alone or with some other kids. So you're not in the peripheral of the bullies.
mm,
Yeah. And that was difficult time. And you know what? I really loved school. For me, it was really important to go to school. I even convinced my mom in the primary school that when we, for the first week, that on Saturday there is school. So she took me to school on Saturday, and after it was like, okay, she's a foreign woman. She didn't know that maybe on Saturdays there's school. So she took me, and it was close. But I was really craving going to school. I was really craving to get the knowledge.
mm,
And for me, in general in my life, I love to have the knowledge. I want to learn things. Every day you learn something new.
yeah.
You can never be the top, because every day is a lesson.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like there was so much to learn as well, like not just the language, but just adjusting, and your family was also adjusting, and your
Yeah.
mother not knowing that
Yeah.
there's no school on Saturday as well. So like it's just an entire adjustment period. And when you shared about like that fear that you had about going to school or going to lunch, and what was it that was creating that fear that made you not want to go there? What, did something happen, or just imagining things that can happen?
Yeah, imagination plays big role into this. And I mean, like, kids being kids, man. I mean, like,
Mm,
I cannot specify something, but overall, those two, three, four kids which are all the time bullying you,
yeah,
and there wasn't any filters back then. Nowadays, there's so much awareness on how kids are, or if a kid is like hyperactive, there is a
yeah,
term for it. Back in the days, that they were all in one group.
yeah.
And life back then, teachers, they were like even using physical abuse for on the
Mm,
kids. It wasn't like today.
yeah,
Today the teacher afraid to say something to a kid, because the parent will come, even if the kid has fault into it.
yeah. Yeah, completely different time
Yeah.
now and how it was. And a lot of people might have went through something like that as well. I remember in school it was completely different to what it was now. And there were some great teachers, but then so not great teachers.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to my parents and saying this teacher is really, really horrible. Like
Mhm.
she yells, she attacks, she's not teaching us anything. And because my parents grew in a time where teachers would know everything, they would tell me the teacher is always right. So don't question that.
Yes. Yes.
And I just thought, but I understand where you're coming from, but there's just one teacher that everyone is complaining about. And it took a couple of years and a lot of students that came up and started talking about this specific teacher. So it does take time, and it's different now as well in how kids in schools are.
Mm.
And I'm wondering as well, like during that time, what were some of your hobbies or things that you enjoyed doing when you were adjusting and growing up in Cyprus?
Yeah, as I told you, that life in Cyprus was difficult. Doesn't mean only in school was bad, but it was also at home. So
Mm,
I didn't have, at the recently, one of the revelations I had as a person is like, when I was a kid, I didn't have any identity.
mm,
So I grew up in a poor house with an educated stepfather, and he was very harsh, and I was working mostly. For me, one of the reasons I love school is because I wasn't working.
mm,
So I was working from very young age, uh, from different type of jobs, like in the fields, in the farms, in doing charcoals for the barbecue, these kind of things. And for me, that was a motivation to go to school and learn and become better. And yeah, it was difficult, but on my character, it felt like this is the correct way to do it. And sorry, the question was how?
Any hobbies that you
Yeah, the
have
hobbies.
and
Yeah, I didn't have any hobbies.
mm,
I was working, so my hobby was the school.
yeah.
The knowledge.
Oh wow. And sorry to hear that as well, like from what you were doing as well at home and working from a young age in the fields and doing different things and having school as a hobby to enjoy as well, to
Yeah.
do the things that you love and learn as
Mm.
you go on.
But the problem is like you go to school and you have the bullies.
Yeah,
So you have one
exactly.
bully at home and you have another bullies at the school.
Yeah.
So for me, it shapes a lot of things in me. So for example, I remember taking the bus, going to the school, and I always was taking the earliest bus. So there are not a lot of students in the bus. I
Mm.
was me and only another two, three. And it just happened like most of the mornings, the guy who was the bus driver has the radio on and always was playing like two specific songs, and which are my favorite songs until today. Because for me, the period of like leaving the house and going to school was my safe period.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And also on the way back, I was always taking the latest bus.
Mm.
I mean, like, after. So I was trying to have this buffer zone between the two environments.
Mm. Oh wow. And that became your safe zone
Yeah, my safe zone.
and the songs as well.
And I love the street. That's why after when I was a teenager, and I was like, not teenager, when I was 16, 17, I was working like a delivery guy. So because I find peace into the road,
Wow.
because I was driving on my motorbike, and I couldn't think anything else because the focus is the street.
And it's still the same thing. Like even if you go to that street now, you still have that same.
The specific street, no, but in general, the roads, being on
Yeah.
the road, yeah.
Oh wow. And then so grew up and had bully at home and also in school.
Mm.
And what you shared was also that you saw that as a way for you to become better and better. So
Mhm.
those challenges were making you the person that you are and also helping you to become stronger and stronger. And I'm sorry, like there wasn't anyone there
Mm.
to be there, but I really appreciate you sharing and also how you've seen this now as it's making me stronger
Mhm.
as a person today. And then once you were in school and you took on more roles, like you said, you were also working delivery. What were your aspirations? Like, what did you want to be when you grow up? Was it something related to ships or?
um, my tipping point where everything changed is when I decided to leave home.
Mm.
And this happened when I was 16 years old. Looking back in the days now, a 16-year-old is just a kid, man. So I decided, and I remember that day, I just took two bean bags, put all my clothes in, and just left the home. I was like, the glass was so full, and the last drop just like
Mm.
make me to leave the house. And I was even planning this from 12 years old, that I want to leave the house. I took even the map, the atlas, and I was checking areas in Cyprus where trees are growing and plants are growing in order to find the sweet spot of a village to go live there. I was even imagining to build a house from woods just to stay there. And because I had the knowledge of the fields to plant the fields and sell in order to survive.
Yeah.
And that was in the mind of a 12 years old, 11 years old. But when I was 16, I got my first job like outside the house because until then I was working in the house. Um, I had a bit more freedom.
Mm.
I had a support for the first time,
Mm.
support from a friend of mine who make big impact in my life. And and he was older than me, like 2 years older than me, and he treated me like his big younger brother. And that was the road to lead to the decision that I want to leave the house. So I left the house when I was 16. I found a place and I started renting it. And funny thing is, like, I was searching in the newsletter all day where to go, where to live, the rents and everything. And that was during me getting in the bus and going to Paphos to work, to give leaflets on the traffic lights, advertising leaflets back in the days when they were used to do it. And on the way back, trying to find where to stay. And my friend who had a car that day, he drive me around, check for the places, and we found very late at night, I think around 9, 10 o'clock, that house. The lady felt pity about me. But funny thing, she was the mother of our neighbor
Hmm. Where
back
you
at
were going,
where I was,
running away from.
yeah. So she knew my stepfather. So she said, I don't want to have any deal with him. So, and my friend helped me. I said, no, he's gonna be by himself and everything. He's working, and yeah, one day became 2 days, 2 days became 3 days. I stayed there. I started renting the place. I was working at night, and I was going to school during, yeah, during the day, and it was difficult. I remember, like, sometimes I was falling asleep on the desk, but my teachers knew about it. So, but I was still a good student, man. I was like, one of the best students in the school, and the best students at the parades, they're holding the flags of the Cyprus, of Greece, and the school flag.
Yeah.
I was holding the Cypriot flag,
Oh
the
wow.
irony. and and you know what? I was a really good student until the last year, because in Cyprus, when you finish school, you give exams to go to universities in Greece and in Cyprus. But the last year, they told me you're not allowed because you're Bulgarian. I still had my Bulgarian citizenship. And in order for me to go to university, I need to pay. So I was living to that house by myself. All my friends went to the army for 2 years, mandatory here. And I was working three jobs to save money to study something. And in that moment, I asked myself, what you really like? What is that motivates you to do for the rest of your life and feel nice? And I remember my old Pentium 2 computer having this Windows Movie Maker. And that was when internet starts flourishing. And I download a couple of music video clips and I start edit them in the movie maker, And I was like, yeah, I like this, it's very interesting, and I want to do something about it. So I searched for colleges, and I found one in Nicosia. I saved money, and I went to Nicosia and studied audio and visual communications in Frederick.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So from deciding to leave the house that you were in, and you've had that thought since you were 12, but then 16-year-old you decided I'm out.
Mm,
And going and renting and living somewhere on your own and supporting yourself by doing three jobs. And what you shared as well, it really resonates in terms of like the support that you had from your friend and from the teachers who knew where
mm,
you were coming from and what you were doing. And so even sleeping on the table, they felt a bit of compassion.
mhm,
Like that support is just so profound to create the lives that we have, and the people around us as well. So deciding who we want to be associated with
mm,
and not, and then saving so much, even though like you were holding that flag in the parade,
mm,
to be told that you're not able to sit the exams like the rest of the people because you still have the Bulgarian citizenship, and going into a way of finding out what you want to do with your
mm,
life. I mean, that's just incredible to see the challenges in a way that you want to do more about what you have. It's like taking power,
mm.
taking that ownership to decide what you want to do. And I haven't heard the word Pentium. for so long. And
Yeah.
then you went to university, and how was that? Like, how were the first few days and just gaining knowledge about like editing movies and filmmaking and
Yeah.
all this? Like, how was that?
At the university, at the college, we started like 30 students. We graduated four and a half.
Oh, wow. And a half.
And a half because the guy was like from the previous years. um, everything made sense because audio and visual communication is like it's a broad subject. It has audio and visual communications. So you have from arts to camera to editing to photography to sound design. It gives you the basics. It
Mm,
doesn't give you a specific subject, but it gives you the basics. For it was only 2 years, and that time, because for me, when I left the house, I didn't have any support ever. So for me, working, paying the rent, paying the bills, having to eat something. So I left Limassol. I went to Nicosia. So I was still paying rent. I was still doing stuff. So I needed to work. So also there I was working.
yeah.
And then I found myself working like two jobs again, which was draining. It's draining because I could give more attention to my studies,
Yeah.
but I was working a lot. For the first year. The second year, I found a job in a TV channel, and I was doing editing in the news reports. And I strongly remember that first day when I sat on a chair in my editing booth, and I took the remote and I switched on the AC, and I'm like, wow, I can sit all day. And because for me, all my life was like on the move,
Yeah.
walking, doing, working, and I could just sit and have the comfort of the AC. It was unimaginable for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I found the magic into it,
Mm,
and I learned how to even edit faster
mm,
because in the news department you need to edit fast. So a report was coming in as the news were playing live,
mm,
so I needed to do it really fast. In 5 minutes, it's gonna be ready
yeah.
and show it live. And I found the ways to do it. At the beginning, the journalists didn't want to work with me because I was slow. And after, everybody was taking line on my booth. And I said,
Yeah.
guys, no, it's the other editors here. And I found ways to have shortcuts to work really fast on my editing software.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Knowledge, man. I mean, like, I love learning things
Yeah.
and utilize them.
And making it even better and faster,
Yeah.
and it's so great to hear as well. Like when you started, it was a bit slow in the beginning, which I'm assuming is just to get to know the process and to adjust to the place. And then eventually you started becoming one of the people that everyone wanted to work with because,
Mm.
and it's so true what you shared. I never thought about it that way, that when it's a news segment, it has to be done accurately and quickly, that it's important to have someone who's really focused in that. And when you started doing that role, did you have any thoughts about this is what I want to continue doing, or did you think about anything else that maybe you wanted to explore, or your heart was like completely set even more now that you're doing it?
Well, when I was studying, I realized that Cyprus cannot offer me the knowledge I was seeking for.
Mm.
So in my plans was to move to UK or some other countries where I could gain more knowledge. So I was doing my studies, and I said when I'll finish the studies, I will go to UK. So I made a loan to move there and everything. And they offered me a good job in the TV station, and they offered me like a full time job with all the benefits. But I said no. I want
Mm.
to learn more. I want to be better than this. So I made a loan. I went to UK. I found with one of my friends. He also wanted to study a course. So in UK, that's another revelation of emotions and shape of me is okay. First of all, I went to UK when I was 22, 23. There, I had money in my account. Yeah, it was the loan. Yeah, understand that. But it was the first time ever in my life where I didn't need to work.
Mm.
So the first 5 months, I was doing nothing. I was first time in my life. I was like, oh my god, I have so much freedom. Looking it back now, it was like, okay, it was too much, it was excessive, but I deserved it, I think.
Yeah.
And it was so many emotions together. I remember even, back in the days in Cyprus, there were only 5, 6 channels, TV channels. So if you are lucky enough, you have like a box and watching LTV and paid subscription. But I got to UK and we installed the
Ah, yes, I
Sky
remember this
channels,
guy.
and I was like a kid, changing the channels all the time to see old channels. There were like, I don't know, 200-300 channels. I was going through all of them, like a kid goes to Jumbo,
Yeah.
and it was so many things, so many new things. The world was so different back there, and so much freedom, and my eyes open,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, this is how people live. Because living in a small island, in a small city, a small village, and you don't understand the world out there.
Mm.
So it's traveling. People should travel to learn and experience things out there
Yeah.
because you see them in a different perspective. The same things you do in your own country, in a different country, they do it differently. So you're getting experience of like seeing things from a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Traveling is just an education on its own.
Yeah.
And like it resonates as well what you said. You've been working all of your life, and then you moved to the UK and decided that you have time that you could do whatever you want. So you decided to do nothing, and it was also inspiring to hear how you had a full-time job at a good place, all the benefits, but still you decided to turn it down to focus on becoming even better and experiencing a different place so that you could develop your skills. Like, how did you make that decision? Like, that must have been so challenging to say no.
Yes, but I found magic like in the knowledge, yeah, and it's like a drive for me. As much more things I learn, as an analyzer I am, yeah, I really like that. So also putting myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now it's out of my comfort zone because usually I'm behind the camera,
Yeah.
not front of the camera. This is how people feel,
Yeah.
huh?
Usually you're in the back fixing the
Yeah,
lighting and everything,
yeah,
but all of those things that it's like what we were saying, even setting up this space
yeah.
as good as we could make it, or as good as you can make it, I should say. But it was every small thing that you added to it. It's just one touch here, light
Mm,
there, movement here, the angles, like they all just add up to create an environment or like a whole orchestra that produces music that is so inspiring. And it's what you shared as well. Like you had the skills, you were working, but then decided to do a little bit more
mhm,
because it's bringing everything together.
mhm,
And I never knew how much goes into like production and filmmaking and
mhm.
editing until like even just sitting now and seeing what works and what doesn't work and the lights and how to make it perfect. Um, and I'm wondering, like, when you were doing all of that and learning, and th- did you have someone that you looked up to, like someone who was you were aspiring to become like, or a person that you really loved their work, or someone not necessarily in film but anywhere that was like a role model, or someone that you could see yourself as?
I cannot really say that I have a role model because I grew up with a mode of I will achieve on what I work on. So maybe I didn't know back in the days from a younger age to have a role model because as a kid, the role models you have, the first role models you have are your parents.
Mm.
But if your parents, especially my stepfather, is not like my role model,
Yeah.
then you forget the feeling of like have someone to watch for. When you're a kid, for example, you don't remember telling to yourself like, "Oh, I want to become like my father. I want to get his job. I want to become like him or like my mom." And it wasn't like that. For me, it was, I don't want to become like that.
Yeah.
So role models, not really,
Mm.
not really.
Just creating your way
Yeah,
and seeing what I don't want it to be like, and then just learning more and
yeah.
becoming what you want to be like. Amazing. And then after university, like what was in store for you? Like what happened after you finished studying in the UK and
No,
gained more
I
skills?
finished studying in Cyprus,
Oh, sorry.
but in the
Yes.
UK I went to work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So I went to work there, and because of again my citizenship, there was a problem with my social insurance number. They didn't accept Bulgarians and Romanians because Polish destroyed the whole financial system, and they put like restrictions on Bulgarians, and the restriction was like only if you're like high skilled, like a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, or to work in the fields. And I'm like, damn, I didn't came to UK to work in the fields, you know.
I've done that.
I've done that. Yeah, it's already passed. And I was working up to 2 years until I managed to. That was 2 years. It was enough, you know.
Yeah.
And there where I met my wife, and we decided to come to Cyprus.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And then came back. And did you always want to come back to Cyprus?
When you're away, you missing your
Yeah.
country. Yeah. I was even cooking like Cypriot dishes in Easter, making flaunes at home. And yeah, it was nice, but the restrictions of work
Yeah.
pushed me back to Cyprus. And when I came back to Cyprus, I first of all I gained a lot of knowledge. Back in the days, I learned how to do 3D animation, 3D designs, and when I came back here, the 3D it wasn't even existing here. It's like, what is that? So I saw before I come to Cyprus, I saw a friend of mine. He was doing some surrealistic photos. Yeah.
Mm.
So I contacted him. Hey man, I love your photos and everything. So what do you do? I'm in the wedding industry. I'm a photographer. So when I came back, because I was overqualified in the TV channels, I decided to do something by myself with him.
Mm.
So I started working with him under his brand, and I started doing videos, wedding videos. And okay, in the industry, they say if you do wedding videos, it's kind of low thing. You don't do a production, but no, no, I cannot say that.
Yeah.
Everything has its own magic. It doesn't need to be a super nice production and everything. It depends how you make it. If you make an average wedding video, for example, it's an average wedding video.
Mm.
If you make your own recipe and put your own ingredients and create it, and it will show differently. It's how you deliver it at the end.
Yeah. It's completely different.
Yeah.
I remember like even for us, my wife and I, we didn't really care about the flower arrangement for our wedding or like the even small things, how the tables look
Mhm.
or the lights. I mean, I don't even remember any of
Yeah.
that. And one of the things was the video. I think our video could have been much better, but it's so important because if I ask my wife, what would you have wanted to be better? She would always say the memory, like the video, the photographs, because we carry that with us forever. I mean, and it's always going to be something that you want to watch. So, and for us, like the people who are not working behind the cameras, we just want to see something that sounds great, looks great, and we can feel that experience. While you're in the back end, making sure that everything, the sound, the lights, the angles, the people, the structure, everything is so perfectly aligned that there's a moment that you capture. So I really resonate with what you're saying that in the industry they say, wedding production is not, but you're saying actually there's magic in there.
Mhm.
And I can feel that as someone who experienced that process as well. And so you started working at weddings, and how do you approach the people? Because what do you bring from your expertise or like your passion making films and creating that magic? Like what do you feel that you want to contribute or do that really are different?
I'm doing wedding videos now for, I don't know, 14, 15 years. Yeah, it's many years of experience on wedding videos. And not only, yeah, it's like half of my work is on weddings, other half is on a different corporate advertising and these kind of things. But for me, a wedding video, it's a freedom.
Mm,
Yes, the wedding is more or less the same. Yeah, every wedding, more or less, is the structure, the whole thing is the same. A guy marries a girl, and there's an event. But I'm always trying to make them unique. As I said to my couples, is I want to show who you are,
mm,
what brought you here, why you love each other. I want to learn more about them. I want to learn their stories. And by learning the stories, it will help me to find key points in the relationship where I want to gonna put it together. The wedding event is just an event which covers the whole love story. So for me, if you go in my portfolio, for example, you're gonna see the weddings, but every wedding is different.
mm,
It's not a template. I could easily do a template. It's gonna be much easier for my life
mhm,
to do exactly the same shots, to put exactly the same way of structure of the footage, and it's gonna work. I've seen a lot of videographers do it, and it works, and it's fine.
mm,
They have their own clientele, and it's fine. But I want to find, I want the couples who gonna come and find me to want that extra, that a bit different, and I don't want to be bored into this job. I want to be every time to be challenging. You know, every time I go to on a wedding, even I know everything, man. I know how it's gonna work. I have full confidence in myself, but I still feel like the first time. You know, you have this stress, like.
mm.
And after when it finished, you know, after that night, I was like, "Oh, this is it." It wasn't so bad as you had it in your head, but you know that keeps me on edge, you know, and it's not like go super full confident and at the end maybe it's not gonna be what you expect it to be. And every wedding is different, and I have the freedom, the creative freedom to do whatever I want
Mm,
because I don't have like a corporate person behind me telling me you should do A, B, C, and D.
mhm.
I can do whatever I want. They choose me for my work, so they're always gonna like my work, even
Yeah.
if I don't put also 100% of my work. But I always put more and more and more. And my colleagues calling me crazy because I'm doing too much on some matters of the production, but this is who I am, so
Yeah.
I love doing it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you said that there's a creativity in doing wedding events because it gives you that freedom to do whatever that you want. And I'm wondering, like, also as because what I'm hearing is more of an artist working and creating and really getting to know the story and having that magic that happens and always stressed because you love what you're doing and you want to do more and more. How do you keep yourself motivated? Like, what do you do that really keeps you interested and driven to continue with what you're doing and how you're doing it?
The other day I said to a colleague of mine, like, do you realize that our work has impact, not only today,
Mm,
uh, even in 10, 20, 30 years' time? Your result of work is going to impact emotionally someone else.
mm,
Maybe the couple, maybe their kids, maybe their grandkids. Yeah. Because you kind of relive that moment, and it's very strong moment. And it's not only a photo. Yeah. Sometimes you see a photo and you remember things. But when you see a video, it's like 25 photos per second.
mm,
But you have also the sound, you have also the body language, you have also the movements. You see things that takes you back in time, and you create emotions in people while they're watching it. That's why filming is an art, you know. You create emotions. If it's just like a plain flat emotion,
yeah.
nothing. But yeah, our work is, it's serious work because of this, and this motivates me. I really love, like, a lot of times I'm watching the wedding videos I'm doing as I'm doing the editing, and sometimes I'm tearing up because
Mm,
it really creates emotions. If it creates emotions on me, imagine the people watching it.
Yeah.
So it's accelerating the feeling of putting this and that and the other thing, and a bit the color here, a bit the sound here, and you create like a perfect cake. You know, you take the raw ingredients and you put them together, you mix them, and you mix them, you let them grow. And I cannot really do, for example, editing like from the morning until night. It's based off on my feelings.
Yeah.
So maybe today I don't feel like doing it. Better not to do it, because it's also a creativity part that matters here. So if I don't feel well, the result is not gonna look so nice. So a lot of times when I do something, maybe I come the next day, I see it, I'm like, oh no, no man, no, no, not good. Let's do it again. So we do it again, and here is where the template part is
Yeah.
will work, but it's not like that. So, and as I put the footage together. I cut everything, put the music. After I start mixing them better, after I add the sounds, the color correction, the sound effects, and everything just like slowly, slowly, you can see a result. And as you see it, it's so nice. You know, it gives so much satisfaction to me because it was from the day that the clients book with me, all their questionnaires, all their stories, going on the wedding day, filming the whole event, and then you have the editing, which is a big plays big part on the end result. The editing is very important because it's there where you're gonna show to someone what you film, but maybe the filming wasn't so good, and you can fix it on edit. But maybe it's good also, but you're gonna destroy it on edit.
Yeah.
So it depends how you put it together. And yeah, looking back in the days now and watching some old wedding videos, I'm like, wow, yeah, it's like
It's still there.
it's very very nice feeling.
Yeah, and then having that impact because it's connected to the emotion of everything that you do, and coming back to that video many years later, it's still going to bring up those emotions that the people felt during that special day, which you've captured through a lens, and then the editing. And what really stood out for me is how you approach it with intention. So you really need to be in a place where I want to create a video that is so great. So even before you do anything, it's just having that mindset or approach that you want to dedicate the right energy to create something that is worthwhile. So you've shared like how you enjoy learning and gaining new skills and saying no to a full-time job so that you can travel and gain even more skills to become better and bring it and have that passion. What's a project that you haven't done yet that you'd love to work on?
Hmm. Yeah, I tell this every time to my wife. Every year, you know, when there is this short film festival
Mhm.
or documentary festival, and I'm like, "Ah, I want to do that. I really want to do that." And you know what stops me? I think it's the script. You
Mm.
know, I would like to have a nice script to work on. But I don't know. It's one of the let's say unresolved situations I have in my head that I never done this, which I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's the script that's stopping me. I want a nice script, so any guys who have a script, please let me
Amazing.
know.
Yeah, amazing. And why not? Like there could be more learning there, and there's
Yeah,
a lot of tech these days as
yeah,
well that can help with scripts.
yeah, but I want like meaningful script. You know, I understand now with AI, it's much more easier to create stuff, but this is what I'm telling in general with AI. It's like when the human factor is out of the equation,
Mm,
no matter how beautiful you make it, it's missing the soul.
yeah,
So the soul is coming from the experiences of people,
yeah,
the the traumas of people, the happiness. So if you put them all together, an artist creates something based on who he or she is. So that's make the art. That is the art, not something that is popular or something that is just flat beautiful. You know.
yeah, yeah. I completely resonate with that as well. It's that human element
Yeah,
that
the
we
human element,
bring.
yes.
Great. So we have a tradition on the podcast,
Mm.
and we usually end it by asking the same question, which is, what is a piece of wisdom or a motto that you usually remind yourself that you're able to use to overcome any challenges? Something that you kept repeating to yourself when you were moving, when you were working on your own, when you decided to gain more skills and experience. What's that one thing that you kept repeating, or a quote that stands out for you?
I don't have any specific one because through my life, through the experiences I had, it it changed the motivation, it changed the code, it changed the. So for now, let's say what I what is my code and what I'm saying to myself is to be more aware.
Mm,
It's really important to be aware. And if I take all of them and go to the basic, I think is to be aware and realize what happened to you in order for you to react like this,
mm,
what brought you in this situation, really understand the values and the core beliefs of yourself. And then you're gonna see everything in a different perspective because it's awareness and perspective. Uh, and if people were a bit more aware how they are,
yeah.
I think the world will be completely different. And knowledge. So knowledge comes together in the equation of like being aware, acknowledge, and want to learn more about yourself. And this is a beautiful when you realize it and when you understand it, then everything makes sense.
Yeah. Amazing. So awareness, and then the knowledge and the learning as well. So like it's just a process that, but it's all starting from just being more aware.
Yeah, being aware of like of your emotions.
Mm,
It's normal. We are humans. Yeah, so we have these emotions that sometimes for other people are not fine and they don't like it or they like it or whatever. But at the end of the day, why are you doing this?
mm,
Who you are, why you are that person.
yeah. Well, Alex, thank you so much
Thank you
for
for having me.
joining and for the great setup and for really sharing your story authentically and um, going back there to the experiences that you had, and then also telling us about what you've done and how you've overcome the challenges by learning more, by doing more, by using it as a way to motivate you to do more. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for watching and listening to Present Potential. If you found value in this episode, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more. Join the conversation in the comments and let us know your biggest takeaway. If you'd like to listen to other inspiring stories, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure to also follow us on Instagram under Present Potential Podcast, where you get to see behind the scenes and engage with us.